We teach that your emotions are the drive of your divinity. They inspire you, and they are the fuel that forces you to make change in the world. However, we didn't yet cover how to control emotions, how to invoke them, how to silence them, and now I'm going to change that. However, some might say, how does one control emotions? They are emotions. They are not supposed to be controllable. So, let's see what evidence we have to support this statement. I'm sure you already know that all thought processes and emotions and feelings, they all happen in our neural networks of neurons that communicate through synapses. Also, our hormonal system takes part in formation of our emotions. So basically, we have two proofs that emotions are the result of some physical chemical processes in our bodies. So one could say matter over mind. Basically, all of our mind thing is the hallucination of the neural network of neurons. Such a thing as an atom of a mind or a molecule of consciousness does not exist. There's the third point also. Most of emotions are responses to the outside stimuli, and most of the times they are predictable because they are kind of coded into our genetics, so they are predetermined by our biology. Are they predetermined by our biology? We have a self-preservation instinct. However, we have the ability to hallucinate things, such as believing in the afterlife without having sufficient proof of its existence, and being ready to kill and die for gods, for leaders, dying for such a thing as motherland. There is no such a thing as a nation. You can find an atom of a nation or a molecule of the borders. Well, you could find an atom of a fence, I guess. Well, iron, whatever material is used, but it's still iron. There is no such a chemical element as national border. The point is that our neural networks are capable of defying our biology, defying the inherent default coding. It is possible if the neural network believes in something to be objectively true. In that case, it's capable of making decisions based upon its own hallucinations. It is hallucinations because ideas and concepts do not exist in nature. You cannot find an atom of a concept or a molecule of an idea. We know that ideas can defy biology. Mind over matter. Also, ideas are possible to be taught because a child gets born without knowledge of a language, of concept of motherland, or concept of society or whatever. They might even be, adopted by wolves or apes. There are cases of that, and they still will, well, exist. What is classically considered humanity, and that is conceptual thinking and ideas, that is brought to us by education. Also, there is such a thing as propaganda and indoctrination, upon which many videos are made by other people. I don't think I have to explain this particularly. Basically, it's the same education, but not for kids, rather for adults instead. Perfectly functional body and functioning neural network might not necessarily react to outside stimuli, or not react in a predictable way, or react in accordance to how it has been trained, well, educated. It results in the behavioral dissonance within our species. Like, one event may make somebody cry and make another person laugh. This means that the way our neural networks are trained, education, that plays a crucial part in how our neural network behaves when given a specific stimuli. It determines the output to the input information. Even more, People are capable of denying their biology, like they can starve themselves to death. So it's the mind over matter. Not only the training of a neural network affects how it responds to the incoming information, but also its mindful choices. Like the same person may laugh at a tragic event one day or even 1 minute and cry over it the next one. So we come to the point that the response of a neural network to the incoming information depends on that said network. It does not necessarily obey the inherent biological programming. It does not necessarily obey the education, like the way it's shaped, well, the way it is trained. So basically, the way a neural network reacts is solely upon the decisions of that neural network on how it desires to react. Even more, the way a person chooses to react to an incoming stimuli or just to feel at a moment, it initiates the process of secretion of hormones. So the mind causes the physical. Of course, you are not able to lead things with the power of your mind solely. No, but your neural network controls your glands and controls a lot of bodily functions and a lot of things responsible for emotions. Of course, you cannot control literally everything within your body with just yourself, with just your mind. However, you are capable of controlling emotional state and controlling the secretion of hormones related to your emotional state. Unless you have an injury that prevents proper communication from your mind to your spinal cord and any glands that are responsible for secretion of the hormones responsible for the emotional response. But basically, your emotions are born here and then they become, well, physical. They kind of become the hormones. But the switches that activate their formation and the switches that turn them off are in your mind, your decisions. Now, if you want the full course on how to control your emotional state and turn the switches on and off, pay me $10 billion. If you are familiar with the personal growth videos and books, or with, I don't know, spirituality and witchcraft, yabba dabba dabba shit, then you definitely heard about such a thing as visualization. Despite how absurd it sounds, it's not that useless because our neural networks remember things based on associations. That's how they are trained. Let us take a few examples. You eat chocolate. You experience bodily pleasure. So you have an idea, a cognitive node. Chocolate, an idea, cognitive node, pleasure, eating. So chocolate, eating, pleasure. So chocolate. Uh, Most of the time you face it not melted, so it's usually in chocolate bars or chocolate plates or powdered chocolate, but very rarely you see it liquid. So most of the time you have more memories where chocolate is in solid state. So a person forms associations based on their experience. Chocolate is something solid. Chocolate is something cold, and chocolate is something pleasurable. Then a person meets another situation when they are, let's say, rewarded with a medal. And medals are cold. They are made of a solid material, and they are also pleasurable because they come with social acknowledgement. So, chocolate, solid, cold, pleasure. Medal and social acknowledgement. Solid, cold, pleasure. Oftentimes, people associate chocolate with metals, and especially with valuable metals like gold, silver, um, and with awards. Associations can be different from a person to person based on their experience, based on the situations the neural network was trained on. The point is, uh, our neural networks create cognition nodes, form systems, and make associations between them on the basis of similarity. That is what permits us to understand metaphors, allegories, comparisons. The point is, our neural networks are capable of making connections, permanent or temporary ones, between groups of interconnected uh, cognitive nodes, bits of information, experience. And understanding of a metaphor is creation of a temporary connection. Like, we don't permanently associate chocolate with a metal. Otherwise, we would think that chocolates are made of metal. But we can make a connection between a chocolate coin and a real golden coin. Uh, and we don't like forever remember that chocolate equals golden coin. No, it doesn't happen. If it did happen, then we would try eating golden coins, even despite the experience of breaking our teeth. Or we might stopping eating chocolate coins just because we beat a golden coin once. Anyways, the point is we make temporary connections between systems of interconnected cognitive nodes. And that is possible because we can invoke memories and we can remember things on choice. We can remember because we desire to remember something. What's even more fascinating is that we are capable of cutting other memories away, temporarily silencing them. That's called concentration and focus. By focusing on a memory, we focus on a system of certain cognitive nodes. And within that system of cognitive nodes, we may focus on 2 of them or 3 of them, a little group, and then focus on any of them in particular. For example, chocolate, solid, pleasure. Well, of course, there will be more like situations when you eat chocolate, people with whom you eat chocolate, but you might focus on these 3 first, and then just focus on the pleasure, and this way you trigger experience of pleasure. You don't necessarily need to consume chocolate to experience pleasure from it. Also, let's say you want to invoke fear. Take something that frightened you before. Let's say you were bullied and you have the next system: a person, an act, fear. So focus on these 3, then focus on the act and the way it made you feel, and finally focus on the feeling, sheer fear, without necessarily remembering what it was connected to. You don't have to focus on the context. And the fascinating part of that is merely remembering those things is akin to experiencing those things again, because your mind will initiate the process of secretion of the associated to those emotions hormones. It enables you to invoke emotions upon your mindful choice. That enables you to become psychologically and emotionally mature. You became capable of forcing emotions to be experienced when you choose that they are supposed to be experienced. You choose what emotions you want to experience and to what intensity you want them to be experienced, and whether you want them replaced with some other emotions. That is literally emotional maturity and responsibility. You are responsible for your own happiness. Nobody is going to make your neural network to perceive things as something that is supposed to give you happiness. It's up to you to perceive it this way. And it is up to you to silence your anxiety, fears, and depression, which you receive during doing things that you don't want to be doing, but you have to be doing. You don't need a mind chip to turn your stress off and constantly supply you with positive signals. You can do it all alone, on your own, with mindful choice to be a responsible, mature adult being. But there is more. You can change the connection between the nodes and the nodes themselves. For example, let's say you go outside and you're ashamed of being criticized. Let's dissect it. There's your expectations node, others perceiving you, others judging you. You have to respond. Shame. First of all, you have to respond. You don't have to respond. You don't have to anything, but let's create a different node. Let's create a node like their public display of opinion does not necessarily reflect what they think about you for real. Like the public display might not equal their true opinion of you. So first of all, judgment, you need to think about it as the public display of their opinion. The true opinion, like people perceiving you. There must be a new node, true opinion of you, and the public display. The judgment splits to true opinion and public display. Public display is not connected to the true opinion. It might be, but there is no certainty. Then, the public display is irrelevant unless they really want to clarify that there is a connection between the public display and the true opinion nodes. If the clarification does not take place, then it means that it is not valuable enough for them. And therefore it must not be valuable enough for you. So your response is not connected if there is no clarification. Therefore it is a dead end. You don't have to feel shame if the chain is not supplied further. So you go outside and you expect people to perceive you. People perceive you. Their perception splits to the true opinion of you, which they keep to themselves, obviously, and the public display. Public display is their behavior, and it might be connected to their true opinion, might be not. For that, in order to respond to it, you need to receive clarification. Clarification given, you respond. Maybe with shame, whatever, but clarification not given, then it is irrelevant. No connection to your respond node. Dealt with that. But this system, this new system, does not necessarily will replace the previous system, like the anxiety, the expectation to be shamed and therefore feeling shame. In order to reinforce the new system, the new chain, you need to, whenever you start feeling anxiety, you need to remember this chain and invoke some reward. For example, remember the pleasure from eating chocolate or the pleasure from being hugged, and focus on the pleasure alone. So there will be a new node to the system. I cannot grow 6 fingers, I'm sorry, but new node, pleasure. So whenever you remember this chain, your neural network will remember that it is pleasurable to remember this chain and will invoke it automatically and, well, replace the old chain. This way, using mindful invocation of emotions, you can change the way you are wired, change the way you react to events, change your personality chain by chain, beat by beat. This is training of your neural network. Training like you train a dog. Well, a dog's neural network. Like You give it a command, give me your paw, the dog gives a paw, and you give it a reward. And it forces the dog to make connection between giving paw, well, first of all, hearing the command, then giving paw, then receiving reward, and then producing hormones responsible for joy. So, well, dopamine. So, the same way you can train more complex chains of the cognitive nodes, including in yourself. If you suddenly start beating the dog during the process instead of rewarding it, it will run away from you whenever you give it a command to give you its paw. The same way, if you want a chain of behavior in your neural network to be gone for good, whenever it activates, you have to feel something disgusting, something bad, something discouraging, not just shame, but something intense. You have to concentrate on it. And instead, remember, after feeling the disgust, feeling the chain, remembering the chain that gives you positive response, and concentrate on that positivity. This way, you discourage yourself from further indulging in the thinking within the chain that you don't like, don't want to have, and encourage yourself, your body, train yourself to be thinking within the chain that you want in your system. Behavioral traits and prejudices are, well, the same information chains. And using this technique, you can not only change yourself, but you also change your prejudices. So I have taught you how to mindfully experience emotions, how to replace emotions, how to remove the behavioral traits and personality traits mindfully and with use of emotional control, and how to install new ones. These things are very useful. It gives you a lot of advantage in fighting the emotions that you don't want to experience. It gives you ability to experience the emotions when they are needed to be experienced, and gives you advantage of, well, basically changing yourself for better. And by better I mean adapting to the given circumstances in most adequate way. Now you have the practical use of this knowledge, and we are coming to the theological part of importance of this knowledge. The theological value of psycho-emotional control of self is in the inherent worthlessness of emotions and feelings. I mean, you understand that all things you feel are hallucinations in your mind. They are not real and they are easily replaceable with other things. What are they even for then? How can you be truly happy if that happiness is, well, easily replaceable? You can replace it with despair, with shame, with excitement, with love. Nothing feels genuine anymore. And that is exactly what the face wants you to feel. Because it means that you are challenged to go and have experiences. To experience something that you will not be able to mindfully control. Something that will excite you so much that you will not be able to silence it. Something genuine. You are the mad god, and you are the god of your own psycho-emotional state, and you are trying to interact with other gods, with other divine beings, beings that are capable of controlling themselves and who are trying to control others. Isn't it control when you try to do something that inspires someone, that makes someone happy? You are trying to force happiness to be invoked in their neural network. It's an attempt to control. And it is very fun and challenging to try and experience something that you are unable to stop feeling, and to make others experience these things, experience something that they will not be able to shush upon their choice. You know that eventually you will be saturated. Then you will try and find something more meaningful. then you get saturated again, you try to find even more meaningful things, you are saturated again, you cannot find anything meaningful, you create it, you are satisfied with it as well. Even then you try to make something even more fabulous. You basically have a spiral of things that you experience, you get accustomed to, and the cycle of evolution of your divinity. You just, maybe at first you are satisfied with making a painting, like with crayons or something. Then it's kind of lame, and you want it with oil paints. It's still lame for you after a couple of days or maybe months. Then you want to paint, I don't know, let's say you want something more epic than just a painting. Then you want carving on wood, it feels cheap later. And you want to make something out of steel or maybe even silver and gold, and then even that feels lame. Like, you have made so far up from painting with crayons on paper to making something with gold and silver. You might as well do something with amber and maybe even colored glass. Very epic. Even that satisfies you after a while. You start building houses and monuments. Even that is, well, eventually it saturates you. Then I'm sure you will make business from it. You find, even if not, you find ways to gain more money, more resources, to make even more epic projects. It's evolution. It is good in day-to-day basis, and it is good theologically. Your divinity becomes more obvious, your impact becomes more significant, you become more valuable, and that is the point. You have a life of evolution, life of events, life when you are not stagnant. There's always change, always progress, always fun to be had and to be remembered. That's why it's important for our faith. And that's why I decided to make this video. It's important for the doctrine. It's important to teach mad gods to be more godly, to seek inspiration, to force themselves to feel that inspiration, to fuel themselves with the emotions, with rage, rapture, and despair. And that's all in order to make more impactful decisions, more mindful decisions, and force saturation to come sooner, so they make changes to their surroundings and to their lives earlier. And as a result, they make themselves more valuable and meaningful lives.